Hello, everyone. Hi, Jala.
Hello.
Hi. I see 13 people live. So, hi, everybody. Come say hi. So let us know where you are, so I know where you're coming from and stuff. So, I have a very special guest today. Jala. So I this is actually our first time to chat, and then like we got connected on LinkedIn because she's an estate planning attorney, and I'm like, that is a very important subject to talk about. And then so I decided, why don't you come on my live, and then we'll talk about that. So oh, someone just said hi. Hi, Amy. Thank you for saying I'm lurking in Washington State. Okay, thank you. She's a legal analyst. Okay, perfect. So just
Good.
ask any questions you guys want. Okay, so along the way. So Jala, why don't we start by you introducing yourself? What do you do and all of that. So yeah, why don't you go ahead?
All right. Hi, everybody. I'm Jala Eaton. I'm, like Christine said, an estate planning attorney, which means I specialize in drafting trusts and wills and getting your estate plan together. Now, part of my job has become education because a lot of people don't know what an estate plan is. They don't know if they need
Mm-hmm.
one. So I wanted to make sure that everybody understood that estate planning is for you. At the age of
Mm-hmm.
18 in California, you're allowed to estate plan, and that's when you need to have one. It's even more crucial right now to have one. So I've written books about this. I'm on Instagram daily telling people that they need to estate plan.
Mm-hmm. Okay, awesome. I'm reading the comments as you go. So thank you guys. Just keep going, keep asking questions, and then say where you're from. So Pinka said hi. Hi. Susan Maldonado said hi. Robert says good evening, everyone from Green Bay, Wisconsin. And Susan wave. Good. Okay. So all right. So you said estate plan people at 18 years old need an estate plan. So can you expand more on that? So let me just share with you what I've learned. I've talked to an estate planning attorney too before. So she told me there are two things that are required when you actually need an estate plan. One is like when you have a child, minor child, and second when you own a property, because there's no way you can write a beneficiary on your property, right? If you pass away, it it's gonna go to the, what do you call it, the court, right? And then it's gonna
Yeah.
go to the order of a court, and then like depending on the state, then you have different kinds. So tell us, like, am I right or wrong? What am I missing? So tell us, like, what is the basic, like, for people who doesn't know anything about estate plan, when does one need it? It's not based on if you have money, you're rich, whatever. So when does one really need an estate plan, and how is an estate plan different from a will?
So there are two parts. What you said about having children
Mm-hmm.
or having property, those are the biggest reasons why most people estate plan.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
that kind of leaves out that estate planning is about what's important to you and it's
Mm-hmm.
about your wishes being written down. So part of
Mm-hmm.
what I think of when I think of estate plans are four documents.
Mm-hmm.
Those documents are financial power of attorneys. Those are advance directives, wills, and trust if you need them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And with financial power of attorneys and advance directives, those are only good while you're alive and well. And what
Okay.
they do is if you're out of the country, you can have a financial power of attorney to pay your bills, to buy property, to do anything that you could do, but you just
Mm-hmm.
can't physically be there. Um, and that's one reason estate planning is good for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, there are a lot of older or immunocompromised people who can't go to their branch bank and like to do banking in person. So
Mm-hmm.
if they have to do that, they can send their financial power of attorney in to handle whatever they'd like.
Mm-hmm.
And that makes it easier to conduct their life in the way that they're used to. And that's
Mm-hmm.
part of estate planning. Now, with advanced directives, you get to decide, okay, I want to be on life support forever. I'm putting that in my advance directive, or I want to donate my organs, or I don't ever want to be on life support. I'm DNR, just
Mm-hmm.
let me go. Those are the
Okay.
decisions that you get to make if you estate plan, if you do your advance directive, versus if you don't, the next of kin gets to decide. And a lot of
Mm-hmm.
times they're not ready to let go of you.
Mm-hmm.
So your wishes aren't heard.
Mhm.
Now, a
Okay.
will to me is not an estate plan because
Mhm.
there are so many things like the advance directive or the financial power of attorney that it doesn't cover. A will
Mhm.
only activates after you're gone,
Mm.
which
Okay.
is
Got
why I've fallen in love with trusts because trusts are active while you're here. And I know in tax, you deal with trust taxes, and they're
Yeah.
active after you pass away for as long as you designate them to
Got it.
be in existence. So
Mhm.
there's a
Cool.
lot of reasons. You gotta have an
Yeah, yeah, and then and I know so one of the big things like because I'm an enrolled agent, so we learn about trust as well. So one of the big things they always like to give as an example is Michael Jackson. Do you guys know Michael Jackson, a multi-million or billionaire or whatever? He does not have an estate plan, and you know the consequences of that. You guys know, like
estate.
it's now like when did he pass away? I don't like maybe 20 years ago or something. So it's been a long time. But IRS and his attorney are still fighting. Like IRS saying, no, Michael Jackson's worth a lot more, so they can tax him a lot more. His attorney is trying to belittle his worth. It's so funny, right? Billionaires work so they don't have to pay so much taxes. So it's really
Oh
funny.
yeah.
So yeah, so if he had an estate plan, like he would not have had to gone through all of that, right? Luckily, he had some sort of will, right? So, but it might have been a very simple will or something. So
We
anyway,
were
so
finding documents, I think, with Michael Jackson, but worse
yeah,
is probably Prince. Prince
mhm.
definitely didn't have a will. He had all kinds of siblings who came out of
Wow.
the woodworks, and the courts had to do paternity tests to decide who was
Oh my
actually his
God.
sibling and who was going to get the money. It's
Yeah.
been 4 years since he passed away, and none of those beneficiaries have gotten the money. But the IRS is going to get theirs, the courts are going to get theirs, the
Yeah.
attorneys are going to get their money.
Yeah.
But yeah, the beneficiaries that I mean, he technically leaving the money to by state order,
Hmm. Yep.
it's going to be a while before they see money.
Yeah. Okay, Carlos said great insight. Thank you. Great. Good, good. Okay. So what is the difference between, let's say, if you have all this accounts, savings, checking, and then you make sure that you what do you call that? What's that term we're in, like when you're done?
Beneficiary designations.
Yes, beneficiary, or like when you die, like it's gonna be written check to whoever's that. So as long as you update your 401k retirement, what if you make sure you always are on top of updating your beneficiary? Let's say you don't own property. I mean, is that enough to not have a
That
will
is
or
estate
trust?
planning, but the problems that
Mm-hmm.
I've seen people have,
Mm-hmm.
they put their beneficiaries there and then their
Mm-hmm.
beneficiaries may pass away before them, or their beneficiaries are unable to be found or don't want it. And
Mm-hmm.
they can disclaim. Some people are like, I don't want this money. I don't want to have the tax burdens, the
Yeah.
ramifications. So, what happens then? Okay, you
Mm-hmm.
had a beneficiary, you did your estate planning, but you
Yeah.
didn't have a will or a trust to designate all the money that you didn't think you would have
Mm-hmm.
at death. Then it's like, okay, we're going to court just
Mm-hmm.
for a bank account. And there are a
Yeah.
lot of celebrities and normal people who don't think about that. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
Nipsey Hussle was one of them. He had a trust. He didn't
Mm-hmm.
have a will. He didn't have a document stating anything that's outside of my trust just transfers to my trust.
Mm-hmm.
So he had $2 million in a bank account, and that's up for grabs now. It's got to go to probate court, even though he had done so well in setting up his trust and making sure that his music and his
Mm-hmm.
his businesses were in trust. $2 million.
Yeah.
Now I think in that case, his children are going to inherit it, but
Mm-hmm.
they're not 18. So somebody's got to take care of that money
Mm-hmm.
while they're getting to
Mm-hmm.
18. Who's going to do that? He didn't get
Yeah.
to specify, I trust this person with my money.
Mm-hmm.
Or he could have done that in his will or in
Mm-hmm.
the trust
Yeah.
with a pour over will.
So
Well,
wait, you're saying that if you have a trust, you still need a will?
you
Okay,
need
so
all four
how?
documents.
So that's why you said the four documents, right? So financial, power of attorney, advance directive. What was the third and fourth again?
Will and a trust.
Okay. Oh,
They
got it. Got it. Okay. Okay.
they
Wow.
kind of
So
work hand in
yeah,
hand.
this is very very complicated. So I'm going to go to the comment. Okay, Cynthia Brown says hello from Philadelphia. Hi. Karen says hello from Canada. Susan said great info. And then Karen asked, should you designate beneficiaries for all your assets? I think we kind of covered that, but yeah, just go ahead and repeat what you.
Yes, please. That is a
Okay.
form of estate planning. That's the first thing that most attorneys will tell you. Make sure every account that you can, you designate your beneficiaries. If it'll allow you to, put a
Mhm,
secondary beneficiary, just to make sure that
mhm,
that asset transfers directly to them, because you're essentially setting up a trust. Most
mhm,
think of it with the 401ks or insurance, you always have beneficiary designations.
mhm,
And when you do those, when you fill them out,
mhm,
the company is saying, I'm going to make sure to get this money to who you
mhm,
designated after you're gone. And
mhm,
like I said, if they're not around, that's where you have a problem if you haven't
mhm.
designated a second or a third, or
Got it.
what happens to it in your
Yeah.
will, your trust.
Yep. And then the assets, like, I guess the savings and then the, all like 401k. So those you can designate a beneficiary, but property, you can't really designate a beneficiary. So that's the big thing, right?
No,
Right?
you can
Or,
do it if you if I'm buying a house with my
hmm
spouse.
yeah.
Part of estate planning that I can
Oh,
do is we can buy in joint tenancy. So that means if
hmm
I pass away, it immediately goes to him. But if I
okay.
buy in
Yeah.
tenancy common, then
Mm-hmm.
that my portion of that real estate is going to go via my will or my
Mm-hmm.
trust. And that
Mm-hmm.
means I have to have that set up because he's
Mm-hmm.
not going to automatically get it.
Yeah.
So
Oh, yeah. So that's what I mean. I guess outside the marriage or joint tenancy, then yeah, you cannot just say, okay, we die, it's gonna be like beneficiary. No, it's gonna go to probate unless
oh,
you have a
I
trust.
want to avoid that. You don't have to go to probate. It's a long, drawn out process. It's
Yeah.
expensive.
Yeah.
If you have to go to probate in California and you engage an attorney to do it for you, to handle it, they automatically get 4% of your assets minimum. Minimum.
Wow. That's great.
So
Yeah, I live in California. It's not a cheap place to live here. Okay. Okay. Karen asks, what are the benefits of a living trust versus a will?
okay, so the living trust allows you to take that, we'll say property, out of your name. So when you transfer and create your trust, the trust owns your property. You're probably going to
Mhm.
be a trustee, versus when you have a will, you still own your property. You're going to have to go to probate court, and then they'll transfer the deed to whoever you've given the property to. So
Got
that's
it.
why a lot of people use trust, because then
Mm-hmm.
you avoid the court entirely.
Mm-hmm. Got it. So trust is kind of its own entity that actually owns all of these assets, and you're the trustee. Trustees, like you could be the beneficiary, or like anything that anyone that actually can modify that, right? And then you assign. What do you call that term when you assign someone who's in charge of the trust?
Oh, you're a trustee.
Oh, I mean, like when you pass away, like is there? I thought there was another.
Executors are for
Oh,
will.
executor.
So yeah, you
Okay.
have an
Okay.
executor for your will, but your trustee is
Mm-hmm.
your trustee whether you're alive or after
Mm-hmm.
you're gone. It's just you can decide to be that trustee, or you can say, I don't want to do this anymore
Mm-hmm.
while you're alive, and you can
Yeah.
allow somebody else to be trustee. You have complete power if you're drafting your wills.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of the reasons that I like to tell people to use an attorney,
Mm-hmm.
because if you get a form will or a form trust, you're not
Mm-hmm.
going to know that you have a lot of flexibility, you have a lot of control over your
Mhm,
estate plan, versus if you're just filling in the bubbles, it's not going to
mhm,
tell you, oh, yeah, you don't have to be the trustee. You can assign this to somebody else. You can delegate it. Um,
mhm,
this could go on for 50 years, or it can stop a year after you pass away. You have options, and you don't get those with a lot of the
mhm,
estate planning, like form wills and trust.
mhm. Yeah. So Robert asked designated trustee with a question mark. I'm not sure what he means. Uh,
So with
do you, okay, go ahead.
living trusts, uh,
Mm-hmm,
they come with trustees. Trustees have
mm-hmm,
fiduciary duties. They can be sued. They have responsibilities to the beneficiary. Um,
mm-hmm,
and if you're the grantor, is what we call it, you created the trust, you're
mm,
in charge of deciding who you want to be the trustee. And
mm-hmm,
I think the only time you would have to go to court
Mhm,
and decide who's going to be the trustee is if
mhm,
you've run out of people, like you've listed people and they're not available, don't want to do it.
mhm,
And then the court will choose one because you
mhm,
can't have a trust without a trustee. There has
mm.
to be somebody who manages and protects these assets.
Okay. Okay. So why don't we go through an actual example? So I think maybe people can connect better. So maybe let's just use me as an example. Okay. So maybe that's easier. I'm pretty transparent about most things. So okay. So I'm 39 years old. I own this property with my partner. So we're joint tenancy here in Silicon Valley, California. So we have a joint account that for our house, and then we have our own individual account, but we pretty much manage our finances separately. And then yeah, well, till the time if we get married. And then so basically so we have our own assets like savings, 401k, retirement. So we make sure that we update our beneficiary. So for us, so let's say we come to you, let's go from step 1 all the way to step 10 when all of this complete. How does that work? So walk us through step 1, A to Z.
Okay.
Mhm.
Well, the first thing that I'm going to ask are
Mhm,
what are your goals? So
mhm,
that's most important to me. I want to know why you're considering estate planning, if there's something specific that you're trying to protect or achieve. After that, I'm going to send you an inventory list so that you make sure that you're writing down all of the accounts that you have that you manage together separately so that we know how they're titled because like I said, it'll
mhm,
change if you own something in joint tenancy versus it's just yours outright.
mhm.
After that, we've gotten your goals, we've gotten the assets that we need to protect. We
Okay.
decide, do you want the full basket of estate planning or are you just going to do pick and choose? Although, if you get a trust from me, then it's automatically going to come with all the documents
Mhm,
um, because I just want you to have the entire protection so
mhm,
that you avoid any of those mishaps that happen.
mhm.
But after we walk through, you decide on the documents that you want. We're virtually doing this. My business is virtual. It always has been. A lot more people
You
understand
can serve
why.
anyone in the country.
For estate planning, I specialize in California. For the
Okay.
financial planning and everything, that's global.
Okay.
But estate planning, I like California. I stay with
Okay.
California. And
Also, okay, we can talk.
there's so much to protect here. Like
Mm. Yeah,
and
yeah.
so many people don't do it. So I
Yeah.
want you to avoid the court. But
Mhm,
we go back and forth. We're drafting the documents. You're actually getting to see them, change them,
mhm,
make recommendations. Like I said, they're flexible, personalized. And then after that, you have your documents, you get them notarized, signed, get your wills signed, and they're
mhm,
in a nice little binder for you.
mhm, mhm,
And then you have to meet with me maybe 1 year after we do them, or two if you want to push it out a little, just to make sure that there's nothing else that you need to update or that your mind has changed about, or that you've added a new property or a new business
mhm.
to get you in the process of changing and updating your will because a lot of people just get them, they put them in the drawer, and then they never touch them again.
Mhm.
So it's actually free with me to modify anything for the first 2 years.
Okay. Okay. Mhm,
With you, since you guys have some joint assets and some solo assets, it would
mhm,
be important to have joint. Well, both of you need to have your own estate plans, and then you can choose to have a joint trust if you wanted to. But you have to think about it from the worst disaster case. So
mhm,
if you were to transition before your partner, okay, they get all the joint assets, but what happens to everything that you have solo
mhm,
and vice versa? So you have
mhm.
to plan because you don't know who's going to go first. So you
Oh,
have everything for everybody planned out. It
that's a lot to think about.
is. It is.
So we don't have kids. We don't plan to have kids, but we only have 2 dogs. I mean, do you put the 2 dogs in the estate
Gotta
plan?
take care of the
So
dogs.
how do you put that? How do you put the dogs in the estate plan?
You can have pet trust. So you are
Okay.
allowed, you can designate a trust and put some money into it for the pets specifically. You can decide how much you want them to get, what kind of life you want them to have. Are they allowed to stay at pet hotels? You can give
Oh my
recommendations,
god.
the food. Like, I think there's a
You have
case.
to find a guardian then. Okay, Will
Yes,
passed
yes, they
away, then
do.
you gotta be the guardian.
Yes, they will have their own trustee that is taking care of them. You have to
Okay.
think. I think there was a hotel heiress. I can't remember
Uh-huh.
her name, but she left millions of dollars to her pet. She didn't want to leave anything else to her family. Her pet. And I think he lived about 5 or 6 years longer than her. So he got to live in the life of luxury the way she intended, based on the trust. Oh no, I think we paused. Christine, can you hear me? Uh-oh. I think we lost Christine. Let me see if I can get her back. And I'm sad I can't see the comments or I respond to them. But what I will do is find out who had that pet trust. Because it is definitely a thing. Mm, I was just looking at it. Oh, okay. So Leona Helmsley left $12 million to her dog. And Bubbles, the chimpanzee, got $2 million from Michael Jackson. Let's see. Somebody left. The widow of the Star Trek creator set up a $4 million trust for their dogs and gave $1 million for employees to care for them. Somebody else left about $11 million for their Chihuahua, Yorkshire Terrier, and Maltese. Oh, somebody's doing their estate planning. Yay! Okay. Okay, so you would only want to. So the question that we got from Greg is the husband did the estate planning and the house is in the name of the revocable trust, as are most of his accounts. You're a younger spouse, and the assumption has been that you'll outlive the spouse. Although they not necessarily the best assumption to make, because as we see, people are going through things much younger in life, and it's not necessarily always about death, but incapacity is a big thing. Like, when are you able to manage money? Do you need to retitle the accounts if and when he passes away? So you're not going to be able to retitle your accounts unless you're giving those gifts to his trust, because then you're no longer going to own those assets. It's just going to be, now your stuff is now owned by his trust, and if you're not a trustee of his trust, then it's not ideal. Um, because it's not your trust, you can do that at any time. You can retitle your bank accounts to his accounts if you choose to. And I'm assuming that the trust is for your benefit. So, or you can just make your own trust, or you can designate the beneficiary designations. You can make that his trust. You have a lot of options, but it's definitely something we would want to get all the facts about before you made the decision so that we could give you better advice. Because, like, do you know what his trust says? You can't get that asset back after you give it to them. So I don't know what happened to Christine. I'm so sad we lost her. But thank you for the comment and the question, Greg. Um, let's see. I'm sure she'll be back here soon. Let me try and give her a call. Hold on. Oh,
Oh.
you're back. We lost you.
Oh my God, I'm so sorry. My internet just like
It said no more.
my computer shut down. So I saw you talking continuously. So that's good. So
Yeah, because I was like, let me find out about pets because I know there have been some big
oh,
money.
you saw the comment there or
Yes, I'm surprised it let me see him because I hadn't been seeing him before.
oh cool
But
cool. Okay.
yeah,
So
I
okay
great question.
yeah, let me okay, let me open the profile again. Okay, so yeah, where did we left off? So okay, okay. So basically, so me so once we get all of that, the documents and everything, so basically, so yeah, we have the trust, the will. So for but me and my boyfriend, do we still need a financial? I guess the financial POA, like you said, in the advance directive, right? So like if something like let's say if I'm on my deathbed or something like that, then I'm gonna say, hey, I'm okay to like do DNR, like you said. I don't want to be resuscitated. So that will be a separate for me and a separate for my boyfriend as well.
So
Okay.
all the documents would be separate unless you guys decided to do a joint trust. Now, the reason you do want to do separate documents is because before you're married, doctors normally want to go to a blood relative. So if you really wanted your boyfriend to make the decision for you based on what's going on, then the doctors may not listen to him since he's not a spouse, and they may want input from mom or dad. And it's like sometimes they aren't as close with us anymore, so they don't know what we want versus a boyfriend or a husband who definitely knows because we've told them, okay, no, I'm DNR, just let me go. Or like, that's your baby, you don't want to let him go.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I'm actually because for me, like if I'm already on my deathbed, like I don't really see like why I should keep on going. So my internet doesn't work either, so I had to come here to look at the comment. Okay, so okay.
Yeah, back up.
People say Thomas said, I think Christine is just shocked. I got that right. I got shocked, and then my internet got shocked, and then kicked me out. And then,
I'm surprised it allowed me to stay.
no, it's my internet, so you're still allowed to stay. So everything affects real estate. Pay attention to the market you want to be in, and over time you will gain insight. If you're new, it's best to team up with others with experience. And then Ahmed said, I think Christine called her boyfriend. Okay. Okay. Let's do it. Okay, let's just be real. So I think at the end of the day, people's concern is how much does it cost? Okay, so let's just be real. They always think attorney is very expensive. So like the one that we just told you, how much would that be? So just again, everyone, this is just for California, and then there's a lot of okay.
It's definitely going to depend on where you are because different locales are way more expensive. In California, I've strived to be cheaper than most attorneys. So what I do is I'm flat fees, so you don't have to worry about billable hours like you will with most attorneys. I'm doing full plans. I'm doing personalization, and it's 2 years for free to change anything, which I've heard some attorneys just to change a name after marriage, it's $700. And I'm just like, that's excessive. Like, it should be shame. So I think for couples, because you're getting 8 documents, it's $3,000 with On My Own Financial. And I've seen that range from um, probably $3,000 to $10,000, and I'm just like, for what? That's excessive. $10,000 for what trust?
For both of us.
For both.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
that covers you guys both.
So if we are married, then it will be $1,500 because
still everybody needs their own plan.
Oh, it's per individual?
Yeah, everybody. Well, the $3,000 is for the 2 people with me. Now, most people may charge you a lot more than that because they're like 2 people. But me, I'm like, most of the time you have the same property assets and stuff and you've agreed on what you want to happen to it. So Greg, you are right. It is definitely a bargain compared to probate. And a lot of people don't understand that. Like the fact that you are not getting your money, you're having to file document after document, get attorney help or like a law clerk's help to get the documents, waiting on motions and courts and judges. It's definitely worth the time, trouble, and money to just get your estate plan in place and not really have to worry about, oh, is my family going to get what I've left to them? How much are they going to get? Are they going to lose the 40% because, like Prince, I didn't do my estate planning, or are they immediately going to get it within a few weeks, depending on the trustee and how on the ball they are?
Yeah. So, oh, wow. Okay. So financial POA advance. Okay. So that's for 2 people. Okay. That's good to know. And then like every time if you have to make changes, then do you have to make changes to all the 4 documents, or you said just the will every year?
It depends on what you're trying to add or change. And like, what would be your beneficiary, hypothetically?
Oh yeah, that's the thing. Okay, I want to get to, like, sometimes people don't think about doing estate planning because then most people feel that if they're gonna die anyway, so it's like unless they have kids they really care about, most people like because for me, I mean, I don't know, like who's my beneficiary? My dogs, I think.
And that's a good one because we don't want the dogs to suffer.
Yeah, something happens between me and my boyfriend before they pass away.
The dogs matter. Dogs lives matter. Like I said, they've left $12 million to dogs.
Yeah.
And they can do that. A lot of people don't think that their favorite charity, that their nieces and nephews, that godchildren, they don't have the chance to inherit if you don't plan. Because the state of California, for instance, is only going to look for either a spouse or a child. And then if that doesn't exist, they're going to your parents. And if that doesn't exist, they're going to your siblings. So you're never going to be able to get to your nieces and nephews, or it's very, very hard, or pets or charities. You can leave your money to anybody, anywhere. And you don't.
That's what the will is saying, right? Or is it the trust? Will and the trust will say where the money go, and then okay. So, Greg Knight said that's a bargain compared to probate. Yay! Okay, reach out to Jala. So 2 more things before, actually 1 more thing before we end. So I know you were talking about you do financial literacy now. So it's like, so besides being an attorney, what do you do now, on your day-to-day basis? I'm sure you're not just writing wills and trusts every day, right?
The majority, the most part, I am writing wills and trusts and doing estate planning. But for the community that I really wanted to work with, I found that they didn't know much about estate planning, and they were still dealing with trying to figure out if they had the assets to estate plan. And so it's been education. And so I've kind of worked backwards. And that means I got my start in this dealing with trust. I went to work for a bank and saw millions upon millions of dollars daily. That didn't affect me. But what really got me was seeing $100 million in trust. And it had been there for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
But it was owned by one person who would still go into the branch, do his banking. You never know that he had $100 million.
Yeah.
And I wanted to know, how do you get that? How do you build that wealth? And what I came up with, it's all about financial literacy, because financial literacy will keep you out of debt. It'll have you buying assets instead of liability.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have to understand how to invest, because that's how your money grows. Most trusts that I've seen, they always have marketable securities.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to have an estate plan, because you're never going to have a trust unless you've written something that gives your wishes.
So who managed the trust while you're still alive? Like, is it the trustee? Like, if my money is in the trust, like I manage that still, right? I can buy and sell whenever I want to, right?
You choose whatever your trust and your trustee can do. So most people, while they're alive, don't want to hand over their assets.
Mm-hmm.
So they keep themselves as trustee. And so on your deeds or the titles, it'll say, like, for instance, my trust is the Rainbow Corn Trust, because my daughter, like, that's what she called unicorns. And I just thought it was real cute. But it'll say Rainbow Corn, owned by the Rainbow Corn Trust, and Jala Eaton as trustee.
Mm-hmm.
So everything that I have would be titled like that if it's in the trust.
Mm-hmm.
But if I didn't want to be trustee anymore, or if my daughter became 30 and I felt comfortable handing over the trusteeship, I can do that. I can either amend my trust if I didn't specify that in the beginning, or I have already put in that at 30, I think she can manage this and be the beneficiary, and I can stagger. Okay, well, I don't want her to get all this money when she's 18, so maybe 30, maybe another one at 45, maybe at 60.
Yeah. Got it. Yeah. Cool. This is a lot to think about. So you need to work with an attorney, okay? Yeah. So Thomas said, what will happen to the money after the dogs pass on?
You get to specify that. It's called the residue.
Okay.
So if you've decided that and you actually wrote it down, it'll go like that. Most people leave like a charity, or they say it'll just go to my heirs if you don't even want to pick somebody. But you can designate. With estate planning, you're thinking of all the options. Like, you're literally wiping out generations of people, and it's like, what do I want to do with my money?
So, can you go to the court and fight a trust?
Oh, well, you can. It's harder to, because trusts are private. Unlike a will, the wills, that's why we know whenever every star has a will, they have to publish it. They have to give notice to creditors. You don't do that with trust. You don't have to. There's no court intervention unless you need something. So, yeah, it's really hard to fight a trust, but you can. And most of the time, the beneficiaries do it when they don't feel like the trustee is handling the trust properly.
Right. So if it's the will and trust is part of the estate planning document, so is the will still public information?
The will would be, but if you have a trust, most of the time you're not relying on your will. It's called a pour over will. And what that does is, normally it just says everything that I own goes to my trust. And so they publish that. It's not giving you any information about it's the assets, where they're going, and when, but it does make sure that, like, the bank account that doesn't have a beneficiary goes to your
So,
trust.
why is the will public? Like when you write a will, does that automatically goes to public information, or is like when you die it becomes public?
When you die, it has to be probated. So the
Oh,
executor or administrator or your
yeah,
family is
yeah.
going to have to submit that will to the probate court.
Oh, then if you have a trust, then it's just immediately go to the trust and no more will. Okay, got it. Okay, cool. Okay, so we're almost coming to the hour. So why don't you, Jala, tell people how to find you in case they so Jala is on LinkedIn. So if you guys want to connect with her, connect with her. I mean, she's in California. If you're in California, I live in California, and then so yeah, just tell people where to find you, how to find you, where do you show up every day on social media, stuff like that.
Yes, I'm transitioning to LinkedIn. Like
Uh-huh.
I haven't been there as much, but I'm coming. You can normally find me on Instagram. I feel like estate planning is for everybody, so I've targeted like the 18 to like 45 crew, and they're always on Instagram. Instagram is where I give out financial literacy information. I talk about estate planning, just trying to get people used to it. And you
Yeah.
can find me at On My Own Financial at On My Own Financial. I believe I have Facebook too. So everything that I post on Instagram, if you're already on Facebook, you can find me there,
Mhm.
and a Twitter. But I'm coming to LinkedIn. I'm going to start posting more.
Okay. So primarily right now Instagram and then LinkedIn. Okay. So for me it's the other way. I'm primarily on LinkedIn, but I'm trying to grow on Instagram. So the Instagram, what is your account handle again? You said On My Own Financial, right?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
So that's her company name, On My Own Financial. So find her, and then LinkedIn is gonna be your personal Jala Eaton. So yeah, and then I'm trying to see if there's any more question.
Yeah. And
Okay, I think that's about
on my
yeah.
own financial.com too.
Yeah, on my own financial. So that's a nice name. Okay, so everyone, thank you so much for joining. I really, really appreciate it. And Jala, thank you so much, and thank you for handling the mischief well. So I was so embarrassed. I'm like, oh my god, what happened? It's like it became bad. So thank you for handling that well. So thank you guys. Goodbye.
Thank you. Have a good one. Enjoy.